My parents gave my dream house to my sister while I was standing in the driveway holding the keys. Not old keys, not symbolic keys, the real keys. The ones I had received that morning after signing the final closing papers, wiring the last payment, and walking through the empty rooms with tears in my eyes because I thought, for the first time in my life, I had finally bought myself peace. My name is Naomi Bennett. I was 38 years old, and the house stood at the end of a quiet street, lined with jacaranda trees, white fences, and lawns so green they looked painted. It had cream walls, blue shutters, a wraparound porch, a wide kitchen with sunlight pouring through the windows, a library with built-in shelves, a garden with enough space for roses, peppers, and the lemon tree I had promised myself since I was 22. It was not the biggest house in the city, not the most expensive, but it was my dream house. Mine. I had spent 8 years watching it from a distance. The first time I saw it, I was still broke, still driving a car that needed prayer and coolant every Monday morning, still building Bennett ClearPath solutions from a tiny rented office above a pharmacy. I used to pass that house after visiting clients at the clinic nearby. Sometimes I slowed down just to look at it. I imagined myself sitting on the porch with tea. I imagined a quiet bedroom where nobody needed anything from me. I imagined cooking without rushing. I imagined a home that did not feel like a waiting room for other people's emergencies. Back then, the house belonged to an older woman named Mrs. Whitaker. She had a garden full of yellow flowers and a small dog that barked at leaves. I never knew her well, but we waved at each other for years. When she passed away and the house went on the market, I felt something in my chest move. Not greed, recognition. Like the life I had been working toward had finally turned around and looked at me. I made an offer, a strong one, cash from years of savings, investments, and one clean business exit I had cried through because I knew it meant freedom. The process took months. Inspections, repairs, legal checks, title review, paperwork. So much paperwork. And finally, on a bright Thursday morning, the house became mine. I stood in the empty foyer after closing and cried. Not loudly, just enough to let the years leave my body. I called my mother first. That was my mistake. Not because daughters should not call their mothers with good news, but because I still believed my joy would be safe in her hands. "Mom," I said, standing under the old chandelier, "it's done. I got the house." She screamed. Actually screamed. "Oh my God, Naomi. The dream house?" "Yes." "The one with the porch?" "Yes." My baby? For one moment, I let myself smile like a little girl again. My mother, Patricia Bennett, had known about that house for years. She knew how much I loved it. She knew I had screenshots of the listing saved before it ever went public. She knew I had once said, "If I ever live there, I'll know I made it." My father came on the line too. "Congratulations," he said. His voice was warm, proud. Or so I thought. "You did well." That sentence still had power over me, even at 38, even with money, even with my own company, even after everything. Then my mother said, "We're coming over." I laughed. "Now?" "Of course now. We need to bless the house." I hesitated. I had planned to spend the first afternoon alone, to walk through each room, to pray, to sit on the floor and eat takeout from a paper box, to let the house meet me without performance. But my mother sounded so happy, and a part of me still loved making her happy. So I said yes. 2 hours later, my parents arrived. Not alone. My sister Brianna came with them, and her husband, Daniel, and their 2 children, and my brother Marcus, even though nobody told me he was coming. And Marcus's wife, Tasha, carrying a bottle of sparkling juice like she had contributed to the down payment. I stood in the driveway holding the keys while everyone poured out of cars. My mother hugged me first. Too long. Too tight. Crying into my shoulder. "My daughter bought us a family home," she said. "Us." I heard it. but I ignored it. That is how trouble starts sometimes. You hear the first warning and decide, love deserves another interpretation. My father walked up the porch steps and nodded slowly. This is a serious property. Thank you, I said. Marcus whistled. Naomi, you were hiding money again. I smiled without laughing. Brianna was quiet. Too quiet. She hugged me and whispered, "It's beautiful." But her eyes would not fully meet mine. I thought maybe she was emotional. I thought maybe she felt awkward because she and Daniel were still renting a smaller place across town. I thought many things. None of them were the truth. We went inside. The children ran room to room. My mother lifted her hands and prayed loudly in the foyer. My father inspected the walls like a man evaluating something he expected to manage. Marcus opened cabinets. Tasha took videos. Daniel stood near the doorway, uncomfortable. Brianna stayed close to the staircase, holding her purse with both hands. My mother wiped her eyes and said, "Naomi, come here." I walked toward her. She placed one hand on my cheek. "You have done something beautiful." "Thank you, Mom." Then she turned to Brianna. "And now this house will save your sister." The room went silent. I looked at her. "What?" Brianna closed her eyes. My father cleared his throat. Marcus looked away, suddenly fascinated by the window. My mother took my hand. "Baby, don't get upset." That sentence has never once been followed by something peaceful. I pulled my hand back slowly. "Mom, what are you talking about?" My father stepped forward. "Naomi, we have discussed this as a family." My chest tightened. As a family? Yes. Without me? He looked irritated already. "Let me finish." My mother said, "Brianna and Daniel have been struggling. The children need a real home. Their lease is ending. Daniel's work has been unstable, and this house has 4 bedrooms. I looked at Brianna. Her face was pale. "Brianna?" she whispered. "Naomi, I told them not to do this today." "Do what?" My mother said, "We believe this house should go to Brianna." For a second, the words made no sense. They floated there like smoke. Should go to Brianna. My dream house. My closing. My keys. My money. Should go to Brianna. I laughed once. Not because anything was funny. Because my mind needed somewhere to put the shock. "What do you mean, go to Brianna?" Marcus stepped in like he had been waiting. "Don't act confused. You already have a condo. You have money. Brianna has kids." There it was again. The old family math. Children made her need real. My work made my money available. My singleness made my dream negotiable. My father said, "This house is more suitable for a family." I looked down at the keys in my hand, then back at him. "I am family." My mother flinched. "Of course you are, baby." "No, not baby, not right now." Her face crumpled. "Good." I needed her to feel the floor moving. I turned to Brianna. "Did you ask for this?" Tears filled her eyes. "No," Daniel said quietly. "Naomi, I did not know they were going to say it like this." "Like this?" I asked. "Or at all?" He looked down. My stomach dropped. Brianna whispered, "They said you wanted to help." I turned to my parents. "You told her I wanted to give her the house?" My mother began crying harder. "We said you would understand." Marcus scoffed. "You always understand when it's not about you." The room went completely still. That sentence hit something buried. All my life I had been asked to understand. Understand Marcus needed more chances. Understand Brianna was more fragile. Understand my parents were tired. Understand money was tight. Understand family came first. Understand my dreams could wait because someone else's emergency had arrived with louder shoes. I said, "Everybody out." My mother gasped. "Naomi, out." My father's voice became low. "Do not disrespect us." "In my house?" He blinked. I lifted the keys. "My house, the one you tried to give away before I even moved in." Brianna started crying. "Naomi, please. I didn't want this. I looked at her. I believe you, but I need everyone out. Marcus muttered, selfish. I turned to him. Say it again. He did not. My father stepped toward me. Naomi, you will not throw your family out like strangers. I looked him in the eye. Then stop acting like thieves. That was when the lawyer's car pulled into the driveway. A black sedan. Clean, quiet, unexpected. Everyone turned toward the window. Vivian Hart stepped out wearing a dark green suit and carrying a leather folder. My lawyer. The woman who had handled the purchase. The woman who had warned me 3 times to keep the closing private. The woman I had ignored because I wanted my family to celebrate with me. My mother whispered, "Why is Vivian here?" I stared at the car, confused too. Then my phone buzzed. A message from Vivian. Do not sign or agree to anything. I found something in the title file. I'm outside. I looked from the phone to my family. The room seemed to tilt. Vivian had found something, and judging from my father's face, he knew exactly what it was. Before I continue, tell me where you are watching from tonight, and if your family has ever tried to give away your dream because they decided someone else needed it more. Stay with this story, because sometimes the person they call selfish is the only one standing between love and a very carefully hidden lie. Vivian walked in without waiting to be welcomed. That was one of the things I loved about her. She entered rooms like permission was for people without evidence. Her eyes moved across the foyer. My mother crying. My father stiff. Marcus defensive. Tasha still holding her phone. Brianna broken. Daniel ashamed. Me standing with the keys like a woman who had just discovered the house came with a storm. Vivian looked at me first. Naomi, are you all right? No. Good. Honest answer. My mother wiped her face. Vivian, this is a family matter. Vivian smiled. Mrs. Bennett, people usually say that right before asking my client to ignore a document. My father's jaw tightened. What are you doing here? Vivian looked at him. That is an interesting question, Mr. Bennett, considering your name appeared in a document you did not mention to your daughter. Silence fell again. Different silence this time. Heavier. Brianna looked up. What document? My father said. This is not the time. Vivian said. It is exactly the time. Before anyone pressures Naomi to transfer, gift, share, occupy, promise, or emotionally surrender this property, she needs to know what I found. My stomach twisted. Vivian. She came to me and lowered her voice. Do you want this discussed in front of everyone? I looked around. My mother had used public tears. My father had used public authority. Marcus had used public shame. They had brought Brianna and the children to pressure me before I had even placed furniture inside. Yes, I said. Say it here. Vivian nodded. Then she opened her folder. During final title review, an old estate-related restriction appeared in the archived documents. It was unusual, so I pulled the full record. The house was once connected to the Whitaker family trust. I frowned. Mrs. Whitaker? Yes, Eleanor Whitaker. What does that have to do with us? Vivian looked at my father. Apparently Mrs. Whitaker and your grandmother Ruth Bennett knew each other. My breath caught. Grandma Ruth? The house suddenly felt less empty. My mother whispered, Leonard. My father closed his eyes. Vivian continued. Years ago, Ruth Bennett loaned money to Eleanor Whitaker during a legal dispute that nearly cost Mrs. Whitaker this house. In exchange, a private agreement was made. If the house ever came up for sale, Ruth Bennett, or her direct chosen descendant, would have right of first refusal. I stared at her. What? Vivian looked at me gently. Naomi, your grandmother helped save this house decades ago. My hand tightened around the keys. Grandma Ruth. My grandmother. The woman who raised peppers in paint buckets and taught me to protect every paper. The woman who said, a woman needs one place where no one can price her peace. She had known this house, saved it even, and never told me. Vivian continued. When Ruth passed, that right transferred through a sealed letter and estate note to the person she named. The room was so quiet I could hear Brianna's child whispering in the hallway. I said, "Who?" Vivian looked at me. "You." My eyes filled instantly. "Me?" "Yes, that is part of why your offer was accepted quickly. Mrs. Whitaker's estate recognized the right through the title process. Your grandmother had written your name years ago." I covered my mouth. The house was not only my dream, it had somehow been waiting for me through Grandma Ruth's hands. Then Vivian's face changed. "And your father knew." My mother let out a small sound. Brianna stood. "Dad?" My father opened his eyes. "Ruth told me years ago." The room moved around me. "She told you?" I whispered. He nodded slowly. "She said if the Whitaker house ever came up, Naomi should have the chance first." "Why didn't you tell me?" He looked at the floor. That was answer before words. Vivian said, "There is more." Of course there was. There is always more when silence has been carrying a secret. Vivian pulled out another paper. 3 weeks ago, before closing, someone contacted Mrs. Whitaker's estate attorney, asking whether the right of first refusal could be assigned or redirected to another Bennett family member after purchase. My father's face went pale. Marcus said, "What does that mean?" Vivian looked at him. "It means someone was already asking how to move Naomi's protected opportunity to Brianna." Brianna shook her head. No, I didn't know." "I know," Vivian said. "The inquiry came from an email associated with your father." My mother turned toward him. "Leonard?" My father looked suddenly old. I was trying to keep the family balanced. The words landed like dirt on clean floors. Balanced. My dream on one side, Brianna's struggle on the other, his guilt in the middle, moving pieces like we were accounts. I said, "You knew Grandma wanted me to have this chance." He swallowed. "Yes. And you still plan to give it to Brianna?" "I thought once you owned it, you could help her." "That is not what I asked." He exhaled. "Yes." Brianna cried harder. "Dad, why would you do that to both of us?" My father did not answer. My mother sat down slowly on the bottom stair. She looked destroyed, but I did not know if she was destroyed by the betrayal or by being exposed inside it. Marcus tried to speak. "This doesn't change the fact that Brianna needs—" Vivian turned to him. "Mr. Bennett, if your next sentence contains the word needs, I encourage you to attach a budget and a job application." Grace would have loved that. Marcus shut his mouth. I looked at my father. "Why?" He looked at me then. For once, no command in his face. Only shame. "Because Brianna has children," he said quietly. "Because Daniel lost ours. Because they were behind on rent. Because you always land on your feet." There it was. The oldest betrayal. Not hatred. Confidence in my survival. Naomi will survive. Naomi will understand. Naomi will recover. Naomi will buy something else. Naomi will forgive. Naomi will be fine. I whispered, "You used my strength as permission again." My father's eyes filled. He did not deny it. That almost made it worse. My mother cried, "Naomi, I didn't know about Ruth's letter." I looked at her. "But you knew they planned to ask for my house today." She covered her mouth. "Yes. And you came." She nodded, crying. "And you cried." "Yes." "And you called it Saving Brianna." "Yes." I nodded slowly. "Thank you for finally telling one true thing." Brianna stepped toward me. "Naomi, I swear to you, I did not know Grandma chose you. I didn't know Dad emailed anyone. I didn't know they were going to demand it today." I believed her. Not because I wanted to, because her shock looked different from performance. Daniel spoke quietly. "We thought your parents said you were open to helping us lease it for a while. We didn't know they were asking you to give it away." "Lease?" I asked. Brianna wiped her face. "They told us you might let us stay here until we got back on our feet." My mother looked away. My father said nothing. So the lie had layers. To me, they framed it as family duty. To Brianna, They framed it as my generosity. To themselves, they framed it as balance. And underneath, Grandma Ruth's secret wish had been hidden like a stolen letter. I took a deep breath, then turned to Vivian. Is this house fully mine? Yes. No assignment? No family claim? No hidden obligation? No. Your grandmother's right helped you get the opportunity, but the purchase is yours. You paid for it. You signed, title is in your name. No one here has any ownership. My father flinched. Good. I looked at my family. Then everyone leaves now. My mother stood. Naomi? No. Not baby. Not please. Not today. Brianna nodded through tears. We'll go. Daniel gathered the children. Marcus muttered something. Vivian looked at him. I have excellent hearing. He stopped. My father lingered at the doorway. Naomi, I'm sorry. I looked at him. No, Dad. Right now you're caught. Sorry comes later, if it learns details. He lowered his head and walked out. When the last car left, the house became quiet again. But it did not feel empty. It felt like Grandma Ruth was standing somewhere in the walls, arms folded, saying, Now you see. I finally collapsed onto the floor of the foyer. Vivian sat beside me without speaking. That was her kindness. Some people fill silence because they are uncomfortable. Vivian protected it. After a while, I whispered, She knew. Your grandmother? Yes. Vivian nodded. She seems to have known many things. I laughed through tears. She always did. That night, I stayed in the house alone. No furniture yet. No bed. No curtains. Just me, a blanket, takeout, and Grandma Ruth's unseen hands all around me. I sat in the library with my back against the wall and read the copy of her estate note Vivian had printed. The handwriting was hers. Sharp. Slanted. Certain. If Eleanor's house ever comes up for sale, Naomi should know first. She has loved that porch since she was a girl, even if she thinks no one noticed. She needs one home that cannot be voted away by family need. I cried so hard I could barely breathe. She had noticed. All those years, when I thought nobody saw what I wanted, Grandma Ruth had seen. She had not just seen, she had protected it. A home that cannot be voted away by family need. The next morning, Grace arrived with coffee, folding chairs, and rage. I told her everything. She read Grandma Ruth's note and cried, which she denied immediately. I have allergies, she said. You are crying. I am reacting to generational legal excellence. Then she hugged me. Hard. For the next week, I did not answer my parents' calls. Vivian handled everything. Formal notice to my father about the estate inquiry. Property access restrictions. No family visits without written permission. No discussions of transfer, lease, occupancy, gifting, or temporary use without counsel. No pressure through relatives. No using the children as emotional leverage. Marcus violated the last one within 4 hours. He texted, Your niece asked why Auntie Naomi won't let them live in the pretty house. Hope you're proud. I sent it to Vivian. She replied directly through legal notice. Marcus stopped texting for 3 days. Aunt Linda called me on the 4th day. I expected pressure. Instead, she said, Your grandmother would haunt Leonard for this. I laughed before I could stop myself. She might already be. Good. He deserves cold spots and missing socks. Then Aunt Linda became serious. Baby, keep that house. I will. Not just legally, in your spirit. Don't let them make it feel guilty. That was exactly what I needed to hear. Because guilt had already started scratching at the door. Brianna's children, her rent problem, Daniel's reduced hours, my mother's tears. My father's shame, the empty bedrooms, the big kitchen, the family story, all of it tried to turn my joy into selfishness. But Grandma Ruth's note stayed on the library floor beside me like a witness. A home that cannot be voted away by family need. So I kept it. I moved in slowly. A bed first, then kitchen stools, then books, then Grandma Ruth's photo in the library, then the lemon tree in the garden. The first night I slept there properly, I woke up at 2 a.m. and walked onto the porch. The street was quiet. The moon sat above the jacaranda trees. I whispered, "Thank you, Grandma." The wind moved through the leaves. Maybe that was answer enough. My parents requested a meeting after 2 weeks. I said no. They requested again. No. The third request came through Brianna. She called me gently. "Naomi, I'm not asking you to forgive them, but I think Mom is breaking." I closed my eyes. That sounds like a request with better shoes. Brianna sighed. "You're right. I'm sorry. That mattered. I'm still learning not to carry messages," she said. "I know. I told them I wouldn't ask again. Thank you." She paused. "I am sorry too." "For what specifically?" "For wanting the house, even quietly. Before I knew everything, part of me hoped you would offer. I didn't ask, but I hoped, and I hate that." That honesty touched me. I sat down on the porch step. "Brianna, needing help is not betrayal." It felt close. It becomes betrayal when you let people take for you. "I know." "Did you?" "No." "Then we start there." She cried. So did I. A week later, I invited Brianna and Daniel over. Not to give them the house. To talk. They came without the children first. Brianna stood in the foyer, eyes red. "I don't want to be here if it hurts you." "It does," I said honestly, "but not because of you only." She nodded. We sat in the kitchen on temporary stools. Daniel apologized first. "For what specifically?" I asked. "For accepting your parents' version too easily, for letting myself feel relieved by a plan that involved your house before I heard your voice in it. That was good. Specific," he continued. "I was ashamed about money. I wanted help so badly that I did not ask enough questions." I nodded. "I understand shame, but my house can't be the solution to your silence." He looked down. "You're right," Brianna said. "We don't want the house." "I know. We need help, but not like that." That was the first clean beginning. We built a different plan. Not open-ended rescue, not free occupancy, not hidden transfer. A direct rent assistance plan for 3 months, paid to their landlord while Daniel found more stable work. Budget review with grace. Job search support. Childcare help from community resources. No ownership. No emotional debt. No living in my dream house as a solution to their crisis. Brianna cried with relief and shame. "I don't want you to feel used." "Then don't use me." She nodded. Okay, that became our new rule. Simple, hard, good. My parents finally got their meeting 1 month after the driveway confrontation. Vivian's office. Recorded. Grace present, because she said, "I want to watch Leonard meet consequences in high definition." My parents arrived looking older. My mother had stopped dyeing the front of her hair, and gray showed at her temples. My father held a folder, which made me tense. He noticed. "It's not for you to sign," he said quickly. I said nothing. We sat. Vivian began. "This meeting is for accountability, not pressure. If anyone requests transfer, lease, or occupancy of Naomi's property, we end immediately." My mother nodded. My father did too. Then he looked at me. "I am sorry." I waited. "For what specifically?" I asked. He swallowed. "For hiding what your grandmother told me, for contacting the estate attorney without telling you, for trying to redirect something Ruth wanted for you, for telling myself Brianna's need justified taking your dream, for making your strength the reason you should sacrifice again." My throat tightened. He continued. "For standing in that house while you held the keys and acting like the family had already voted. Family voted. That was exactly how it felt. A decision made in my absence, delivered as morality." I looked at my mother. She was crying quietly. Not loudly, not theatrically. Quietly. "I am sorry," she said. "For what specifically?" For coming to your house ready to cry until you agreed. For telling myself I was helping Brianna while ignoring what that house meant to you. For calling you baby when I wanted you soft. For knowing you loved that house and still asking you to give it away. My eyes burned. That last sentence reached the wound. Did you know about Grandma's note? No, she whispered. But I knew enough. I knew it was your dream. I nodded. Yes. She wiped her face. I have spent years praising you for being strong, while rewarding everyone who leaned on you. I am ashamed. Grace looked down. Vivian's pen paused. My father opened his folder. Inside was a copy of a letter from Grandma Ruth. Not the estate note. A different letter, addressed to him. His hands shook as he passed it to me. I should have shown you years ago. I took it carefully. Grandma Ruth's handwriting again. Leonard, do not make Naomi pay for everyone's emergencies. She will do it because she loves deeply and wants peace. That does not make it right. If Eleanor's house ever comes to her, let it be hers, not family's, hers. She needs a place where duty cannot enter without knocking. I cried. Right there in Vivian's office. My father cried too. My mother covered her face. Grace muttered, Ruth was drafting subpoenas from the grave. I laughed through tears. Because she was. My father said, I read that letter and thought she was being dramatic. I looked at him. No, she was being accurate. Yes, he whispered. That meeting did not end with hugs. It ended with boundaries. My parents would not visit the house until I invited them. They would not discuss Brianna living there. They would not ask for keys. They would not call it the family house. They would not use relatives to pressure me. They would not frame my refusal as selfish. And most importantly, they would accept that Grandma Ruth's wish was not theirs to reinterpret. My mother asked, Will you ever forgive us? I said, I don't know yet. She cried, but she accepted it. That was progress. Marcus never apologized properly. Not at first. He was angry that I helped Brianna with rent but not him with his latest business idea. He said I favored her. I replied, No, I helped a housing need with structure. I don't fund fantasy. He blocked me, peacefully. Months passed. The house became mine in layers. Furniture arrived. Books filled the shelves. The lemon tree took root. Yellow flowers went near the porch in honor of Mrs. Whitaker. Peppers grew in raised beds for Grandma Ruth. I painted the kitchen a warm cream and hung copper pots along the wall. I turned one bedroom into a guest room, one into an office, one into a quiet room with no purpose except breathing. That one mattered most. A room with a chair, a soft rug, and no one's expectations. On the wall, I framed Grandma Ruth's note. A home that cannot be voted away by family need. Every time guilt rose, I read it. Sometimes twice. Brianna and I became closer after that. Not because the conflict disappeared, because truth replaced guessing. She and Daniel stabilized slowly. He found steady work again. They moved into a modest townhouse they could afford. Not fancy, not dream house beautiful, but theirs. When Brianna invited me over for dinner, she said nervously, It's small. I looked at her. Small is not shameful, she cried before opening the door. Inside, her children had drawn pictures for the fridge. Daniel cooked. Brianna made rice. The table wobbled a little. I loved it, because it was honest. After dinner, my niece climbed onto my lap and said, Auntie, do you still live in the flower house? The flower house? The one with the yellow flowers? I smiled. Yes. Can we visit? Brianna looked tense. I said, Yes, when Auntie invites you. My niece nodded seriously. Because it is your house. My eyes filled. Yes, sweetheart. Children learn respect when adults stop teaching entitlement. A year after moving in, I hosted the first gathering. Not a big family holiday, a small dinner. Brianna, Daniel, the children, Grace, Vivian, Aunt Linda, and my parents. No, Marcus. Not yet. My parents arrived at the porch and stopped. My mother looked at the yellow flowers. She would have loved these, she said. Mrs. Whitaker? And Ruth. Yes. My father stood near the door. He did not reach for the handle. He waited. That small act nearly broke me. I opened it. Come in, he whispered. Thank you. Dinner was simple. Stew, rice, chicken, plantains, salad, lemon cake from the first lemons on the tree, though the tree was too young, so technically the lemons came from the market. Grace said that was marketing fraud. I told her to eat. At the table, my father did not sit at the head, because there was no head. I had bought a round table. Grace noticed and winked. Halfway through dinner, my mother raised her glass. To Naomi, she said softly, for building a home and letting us enter it as guests, not owners. The room went silent. She looked at me. And for Ruth, who saw what we refused to see. I cried. So did Brianna. So did my father. Vivian looked suspiciously emotional and blamed the pepper. Marcus came back into the story later. He always did. He asked to meet after his third business idea collapsed that year. I expected money talk. Instead, he came to the porch with no folder, no pitch, no wife, no performance. Just him. He stood at the bottom step and said, "May I come up? May I?" I almost told him no just to hear the silence. But Grandma Ruth's note was not about cruelty. It was about choice. So I said yes. We sat on the porch. He looked at the garden. This is nice. Yes. I was angry about the house. I know. I thought if Brianna got it, at least someone with kids would have it. I said nothing. He swallowed. That sounded better in my head. I'm sure. He looked at me. I'm sorry. For what specifically? For agreeing with them. For calling you selfish. For thinking a house was wasted on you because you live alone. For acting like your dream was less urgent because nobody else depended on it. That one mattered. I nodded slowly. I hear you. He looked toward the street. Grandma really wrote that? Yes. She knew us. She knew patterns. He laughed softly. Same thing. Maybe. He did not ask for anything that day. That was his first real gift. The house changed my life. Not because it was beautiful, though it was. Not because it proved success, though people said it did. It changed my life because it became the place where I learned my joy did not need a family vote. I had spent years waiting for permission to want things. Permission to rest. Permission to keep. Permission to say no. Permission to be helped without surrendering. Permission to choose myself without being accused of abandoning others. In that house, permission stopped being something I requested. It became something I lived. I started the Ruth Room project 2 years later. It began as a small program helping women protect homes, inheritances, deposits, and dream properties from family pressure. Women came with stories that sounded too familiar. A daughter whose parents wanted her to give her paid-off home to her brother. A woman whose sister expected to move into her condo because she had children. A widow pressured to sell her house and divide the money. A nurse whose mother used tears to push her into co-signing a mortgage. A teacher whose family called her selfish for keeping land her grandmother left specifically to her. We offered legal clinics, financial planning, therapy support, and boundary workshops. Vivian taught. Do not sign because someone cried. Grace taught. Family math is not accounting. Brianna taught. Need without entitlement. That last class was powerful because she spoke from both sides. She told the women, I needed help, but needing help did not give me the right to someone else's dream. The room stood for her. I cried in the back. At the entrance to the Ruth Room project, we placed Grandma's line on the wall. A home that cannot be voted away by family need. Women touched that sentence as they walked in. Some smiled. Some sobbed. Some took photos to send to sisters, mothers, daughters, lawyers. It became more than my story. That is the strange gift of surviving family betrayal. If you heal honestly, the wound becomes a map for someone else. My parents volunteered at the project eventually, not as leaders, as helpers. My mother made tea. My father set up chairs. No speeches, no authority, just service. One afternoon, I saw my mother sitting with a young woman who was crying because her parents wanted her to transfer inherited land to her brother. My mother held the woman's hand and said, "Do not let us mothers make our fear sound like God." I stopped in the hallway. Tears filled my eyes. That was change. Real change. Not perfect, but costly enough to trust a little. My father later told a room of men during one family accountability session, "If your daughter succeeds, do not treat her success like a spare tire for your son." Grace whispered, "Leonard has become printable." She was right. Years passed. The dream house aged with me. The porch got new paint. The lemon tree grew taller. The library filled until shelves had to be added. The quiet room stayed almost empty by choice. Mrs. Whitaker's yellow flowers returned every spring. Sometimes I imagined her and Grandma Ruth sitting together somewhere, watching me with approval. Maybe that is foolish. I accept that. Some foolish thoughts heal more than clever ones. My parents never again called it the family house. They called it Naomi's house. At first, carefully, then naturally. That mattered. Brianna's children grew up knowing the rule. Ask Auntie Naomi, not because she is mean, because it is hers. One summer, my niece, older now, said, "Auntie, I like that your house has rules. It makes it feel safe." I hugged her. Because yes, rules can be love when they protect peace instead of control people. My parents gave my dream house to my sister without asking me. Then the lawyer exposed the truth. People love the dramatic part. The driveway, the keys, the demand, the secret letter, the estate right, the father exposed, the mother crying, the lawyer walking in with the folder. I understand. It is dramatic, but the deeper story is about something quieter. It is about how some families hold meetings in your absence and call the result love. It is about how strong daughters are expected to surrender because everyone believes they will survive. It is about how family need can become a courtroom where your dreams are always found guilty. It is about the grandmother who saw the pattern before anyone else admitted it and left a paper trail strong enough to protect a porch. If you are listening and your family is trying to vote on something that belongs to you, hear me clearly. Your house is not a democracy. Your inheritance is not a suggestion. Your savings are not a family committee. Your dream is not selfish because someone else is struggling. You can help people without handing them the keys to your peace. You can love siblings without letting parents redistribute your life. You can care about children without erasing yourself. You can be generous and still say, "This is mine." And if someone says, "But you always survive," tell them survival is not permission. Before you sign anything, call the lawyer. Before you agree to temporary, define it. Before you let relatives move in, write terms. Before you accept your parents' version of your sibling's need, ask your sibling directly. Before you give up the thing you prayed for, ask whether the guilt in your chest is love or training. And if someone older and wiser left you a warning, listen. Grandmothers do not always shout. Sometimes they protect you in handwriting. Today, I live in the dream house. The porch is mine. The keys are mine. The lemon tree is mine. The quiet room is mine. The guest room opens only when I choose. My parents visit respectfully. Brianna visits joyfully. Marcus visits rarely but knocks. Grace still says she trusts Grandma Ruth more than most living attorneys. Vivian says Grandma Ruth would have made an excellent legal strategist. I agree. In the library beside the window, there is a small framed photograph of Grandma Ruth. Under it, I placed the keys from closing day, the same keys I held when my parents tried to give my house away. I keep them there to remember that sometimes the thing in your hand is already yours, even if everyone around you is speaking like it belongs to someone else. My name is Naomi Bennett. My parents tried to give my dream house to my sister, but the lawyer exposed the truth. My grandmother had seen me long before I knew I was being watched. She protected the dream before I could afford it. And when my family tried to vote it away, the truth stood at the door, opened the folder, and handed the house back to me.